Hello and welcome to the CBV podcast. Hello and welcome. I hope everyone's having a good day today. So, I wanted to talk about the Suicide Squad movie panel that was held at DC Fandome on the 22nd of August. Apart from the Batman trailer, this was the second most exciting thing at the panel easily. I had a blast watching this. I will admit, when James Gunn and the cast were just kind of generically talking about like the film vaguely, and then they were kind of playing like a mini game, some kind of mini quiz. I didn't really pay attention to that. I kind of phased out. When we weren't getting any official announcements, I was kind of phasing out. But as soon as we got what was called the roll call, which was this trailer that announced all the characters and the behind the scenes stuff, I was totally invested in watching every little shot I could possibly analyze. So it was such a fun reveal and such a fun panel. So the roll call though for me was easily the most exciting part of the panel. Let's go through all the announced characters first that we got from the roll call trailer. First of all, we got Amanda Waller. She's coming back and being played again by Viola Davis. I felt like this wasn't news, but it's good to know she's come back. Of course, she'll be back. One, she's such a great casting for the character. And two, of course, Amanda Waller's got to be back. Like, she's got to put the team together again and send them out on another mission. Rick Flag, who's being played by Joel Kinnaman, he's coming back. Yeah, makes sense. Again, he's got to lead this crew of villains into a mission, so it makes sense he's coming back. And yeah, again, like Viola Davis, he was good casting. Like, I took him seriously as a character that needed to be taken seriously. So yeah, I'm glad he's back. I will say though, he's got a new look and design with the bright yellow shirt on him now, and that just seems to fit completely with the style and tone of the film, not taking itself too seriously. So even though, Rick Flag was played how he needed to be played by Joel Kinnaman, he wasn't my favourite part of the film by any stretch, but he didn't do a bad job. But it's just nice to see that they're even redesigning his character to sort of fit in with this silly tone, with this ridiculously bright yellow shirt. So yeah, I'm happy with that. We got announced that Savant, I think his name is, he's being played by Michael Rooker. And I'm glad to see Michael Rooker is still working on another James Gunn film. That is kind of one of the staples as to know whether you're watching a James Gunn film, is whether Michael Rooker is in the film. And I'm glad he is back. I've seen him in Super. I've seen him in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I always like seeing him in a James Gunn film. So yeah, I'm happy to see him come back. I'm glad to see he's got a completely bizarre look yet again. I didn't think you could get more bizarre than Yondu, but I feel like I've been proven wrong with the design of Savant. So yeah, he looks cool, and I'm glad he's back. Javelin is a character that's being played by Flula Borg. I don't know a lot about this actor. I've heard the name float about a few times, but other than that, seeing him in the behind the scenes featurette, he seems like a funny and energetic guy, so I am glad that he's going to be in this film. No idea who Javelin is. He's a guy with a javelin. I guess that's all you really need to know, and Flula will bring the rest of the personality, I'm sure, to the character. Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie once again. Of course she's back. She's like one of the most popular characters in this DC movie universe, so of course she's going to come back, and she was one of the highlights for many people in the Suicide Squad, including me. I thought she's doing really well, the character, and it's cool to see her back again, so of course she'd be back. She's got a cool new costume with the more traditional comic book accurate red and black design, so that's definitely for me a step in the right direction for her look. I mean, I haven't got anything against her having the more, I guess it's called the New 52 look with the pink and blue dip-dyed hair, but I think it's cool that she's going to be in the red and black again, because that's sort of like the colour we associate with Harley more than the New 52 colour scheme. So yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, but I will say I feel like they're still struggling to figure out how to nail the movie Harley Quinn's costume. I mean, this one does look cool, but she does look like she's just Margot Robbie, the actor, in cosplay. But then again, like, most of the cast look this way, so if the whole film is just to look unrealistic and kind of campy and cheesy, then I don't mind, because the costumes in that sense are all very consistently over the top and unrealistic looking. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I just have noticed that from Suicide Squad to Birds of Prey to this film, Margot Robbie's never really been in a costume that feels like the ultimate Harley Quinn look. She's been able to pull off all of them. Like, I did like the interpretation in Suicide Squad. Like, that was an interesting design, and her Birds of Prey, I mean, she got tons of costumes in Birds of Prey, so it was nice to see what does Harley Quinn look like when she's just out and about and not trying to cause havoc, and like what she look like when she's going to the shops, or what she look like when she's going to a club. So in that sense, I could kind of buy into her costume more in Birds of Prey, just because she has such a variety. But when you're going on a mission and you're wearing your iconic look, I'm still struggling to see that they're nailing it, but I'm glad that they are bringing back the traditional color scheme. Yeah, so I don't mind that much. One thing I would like to say with Harley Quinn is that I hope she isn't a huge role in this film, because we've already seen her in the first Suicide Squad film, and she had her own film with Birds of Prey. I mean, that wasn't a Birds of Prey film, that was definitely the Harley Quinn film that they just pitched as a Birds of Prey film. So, yeah, I don't want her to overshadow the rest of these new characters. I want to be able to focus on these characters we've never seen before and give them more time to shine than wasting it on time that we already know who Harley Quinn is. We already know a lot about her character. So I do hope that she isn't going to be given the most story in the film or character development, because we've had plenty of time now to develop a character. So obviously you can give her a bit of story, but I really just want to focus on these new characters, because they are the selling point to me, not Harley Quinn for the first time. This is the selling point, that we're getting brand new DC characters that we've never seen on the big screen. Polka Dot Man, who's being played by David, oh god, I'm going to butcher this name, David Dastmalchian. Sorry if that's not how you pronounce your name, I'm sure it's not. But if you've seen the trailer, you'll know who the Polka Dot Man looks like. So I love that this ridiculous character is being embraced, and I look forward to seeing more of this actor, as he's always impressed me in everything I've seen him in. I mean, after seeing him in The Dark Knight, where he plays, I think he's like an escaped asylum inmate who's kind of working for the Joker very briefly. And he plays Prisoners, where he is a suspect in a crime. Just watching those great performances in those films, I was worried that he was just going to be typecast as the creep, because he does play a creep really well. He is a very unnerving actor to watch when he wants to be. But, you know, since his role in Ant-Man, as one of the guys in Ant-Man's crew, like, he's really shown that he can bring that comedic acting, and he's really good at it. So I'm happy to see that, you know, he got to do that in Ant-Man, he got to do that in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it looks like we're going to see him continue to do that in this film as well. And also, in the behind-the-scenes trailer that was released on this panel, there was an interesting shot that caught my eye of Polka Dot Man on set, and there's actually not only polka dots on his suit, which I presumed was like the gadget, like he'd shoot out some kind of gadgety polka dot, but he's actually got polka dots that look like they're growing on his face. So it looks to me like he actually has biological powers, which was interesting, because before I just assumed he was a guy that shot polka dots out of his suit, but it looks like it might also be a biological power too. So that was really interesting, and I think that's going to make the character's fighting style way more entertaining to watch as well. Ratcatcher 2, who is being played by Daniela Melchoir. Again, I hope I pronounced your name right. Apologies if I didn't. I heard that this character originally, in the comics anyway, was originally a guy, so they've gender swapped the character for this movie, and I thought, okay, that's cool, that's interesting, got nothing against that. I don't know anything about this character anyway, so, you know, from my point of view, they could do whatever they wanted as long as it made the character more interesting. But seeing that her name is Ratcatcher 2, like she's got a 2 at the end of her name, that makes me think that she might even be the daughter of the original character that we know, or some people may know from the comics. So that'd be quite cool to think that still the original character that some people may love could still be out there in the universe, and this could just be her daughter. I mean, why else would you put a 2 at the end of her name? So yeah, I presume she's probably going to be the daughter. Yeah, so that was interesting to me. It was announced that Bloodsport is being played by Idris Elba, which is great because I love this actor so much. When this actor was cast, a lot of people seemed to think on the internet that he was going to be Will Smith's replacement and play Deadshot, which I never really believed because, I mean, Will Smith did a decent job. I mean, it isn't the Deadshot I would have liked to have seen, but he was still really charming in that film, and I think it needed a bit of charm. So I had no reason to believe that Idris Elba would just be replacing Deadshot, and I think that would be a waste, especially if you can, again, introduce a new character, which they clearly are. So I am glad to see that he's not playing Deadshot, he's playing his own character. I don't know, I mean, having said that, he's clearly, at least, even though he's not Deadshot, he's clearly like kind of the Deadshot replacement, like in the sense that, say, I suppose Nightwing is like the replacement to a Robin type character. So, you know, you can definitely see from just the images that we see in the revealed trailers that, yeah, he's definitely basically Deadshot. He's a guy with guns that wears a mask, and you know, he does have a lot of similarities to Deadshot. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I'm glad, you know, Will Smith's not back. Not because I hated him in the film. I just didn't believe he was Deadshot. But he was fun to watch. But I'm sure Idris Elba can be a much more intimidating villain. I mean, I can't even think of a role where Will Smith played a villain except for Deadshot. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just a believability factor for me. I just would believe that Idris Elba would be a villain more than Will Smith. So I'm glad that they're introducing him into this world. King Shark is going to be in this movie. If you've seen my podcast about the Suicide Squad video game, you know that I do have a newfound love for this character. I don't know a lot about him in the comics. I haven't read the comics. I've just seen him in the Harley Quinn series. But I as far as the idea of the King Shark goes, I love the idea. Half man, half shark. So I'm really glad that they're bringing him into this film. He's definitely going to be James Gunn's DC version of Groot. I can just see that right off the bat. It just makes sense. I mean, there's going to be a lot of similarities between this film and James Gunn's other films, especially with Guardians of the Galaxy, which I presume is the reason DC wanted James Gunn to make a film for them. So yeah, he's definitely going to be the DC Groot. I think this is such an exciting addition to the team, and I'm so happy that he's CGI and he's not in practical makeup like Killer Croc. Because even though the Killer Croc makeup looked realistic, the performance didn't fit the character, and it's because we need to see him more as a creature than a human. So even though he looks like a crocodile guy, like in a realistic sense, it still feels like it's an actor in a costume. So the way he moves, like he tried to move like a crocodile, it just kind of seemed weird and unnatural. So I'm glad that King Shark is going to be CG, because he needs to be huge and bulking, and I think we should take advantage of that design, and it looks like that's what they're doing. So yeah, thumbs up for a CGI King Shark. Although I will say, from his sort of bulky, non-muscular look, he does look like his design was inspired from the popularity of the Harley Quinn TV show, which for the tone of this movie that I'm assuming is going to be mostly comedy, that works. Why not take it from something that you know works in the Harley Quinn TV show? So I'm not against that. I know a lot of people were hoping that he would be like really muscular and quite terrifying looking, whereas in the trailer he looks like a cute, adorable buddy that would turn on you in a second. So yeah, I don't have any issues with that, especially if they're going for comedy in this film. I just think it matches the tone, so why do we need to do it more comic book accurate if it's not going to suit the style of the film? Interestingly though, King Shark is the only announced character that didn't have an actor's name attached to it. So I presume that means that what the actor we do know that did his stop motion, his motion capture, the actor that we do know did the motion capture acting, is not the actor who's going to be doing the voice. I mean, why would they not announce his name? It's very interesting. So I presume that actor is not the voice. However, I know that Taika Waititi is in this movie because his name appears in the end credits of the trailer. So why else would you have Taika Waititi in there? We know he voiced Korg in Thor Ragnarok and Avengers Endgame, so to me it kind of makes perfect sense that they cast him to be the voice of King Shark. And I think this would be I think this is cool. I think this is a cool idea. I mean, if you wanted someone who's from New Zealand to voice a shark, I kind of feel like you should go on for a different actor, just because Korg is such a lovable, iconic character in the Marvel Universe, and there's just going to be a lot of similarities now between King Shark and Korg, if that is the case. So if they just wanted, I know he's a really funny guy, so I get why they cast him, but if they wanted something with that New Zealand accent, there's other comedians with New Zealand accents who could also do a great job with the character. I mean, I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of Jermaine Clement, I think that's his name, from Flight of the Conchords. He would have been just as awesome as casting. I mean, he's hilarious. And also, if you've seen Men in Black 3, he played a character called Boris the Animal, and he had quite like a deep animalistic voice. And I could see that being a style of voice acting he would do for King Shark. So, you know, I mean, in an ideal world, if that was the approach they were going for, I would have probably still chosen Jermaine Clement. But, you know, Taika Waititi, he definitely would work for the character. It's just kind of a shame that we've already seen him do such a similar character with Korg. But, I mean, I'm not going to let that, you know, ruin my excitement. Like, I'm still excited to see King Shark regardless, because I know Taika Waititi is a great comedy presence. So yeah, happy with King Shark. Mongol is being played by Mei Ling Ing. I don't know how you pronounce the surname, but Mei Ling is the actress. Unfortunately, this is the character I'm least excited to see. I don't like her design. She looks the most like she's going to Comic-Con, and I know that I've said that this film generically looks like it's going for the over-the-top, cheesy, bad costume look, which is fine. So in that sense, it kind of does fit the tone. But I don't know why. They just seem to make her costume look even more cosplay than the others. So I'm not sold on the design. And her expressions in that little mini trailer tease, I mean, it was just 2 photos. She could have pulled any pose she wanted, and she just looks so bland and dull and disinterested in what her character is. So I'm not really convinced she's going to shine much on the screen. But saying that, I'm not familiar with this actress, so I don't really know any of her work that I'm aware of. So yeah, she was the one that just didn't sell me on the character just from the tease that we were getting. So that's a little disappointing, but hey ho, like, we've got tons of characters still to go, so you know, that's a small price to pay if there's just one character I'm not looking forward to. The Thinker, who's being played by Peter Capaldi, this might be the best casting I've seen for this movie. he looks like the comic character design from what we could see in the tease. And he's been the Doctor in Doctor Who, so he's great at playing a genius. And from his performance in that and the thick of it, we know he can play an arsehole really well. So overall, I think this is the highlight of the character reveals, and I think he has the best look. I mean, I love that he is the only one without a supervillain costume. He's just in a summer shirt and a blazer. Often a look I wish I could pull off, but yeah. So I just like how casual his design is, with his ridiculous over the top bolts in his head, whatever they are. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know anything about this character, but it just, from the fact that this character seems to be obviously the genius of the group, it just makes sense to cast Pizza Capaldi. And yeah, he might be the one that I'm most excited for. If he's not the one I'm most excited for, he's definitely in my top 3. So yeah, can't wait to see what he does with his character. I have every bit of faith in him and James Gunn that they did as much with this character as they possibly could. So fingers crossed, he's going to be amazing. I'm sure he will be. This is just so exciting. Next character is Sosoria. I don't know how to pronounce that. But she's being played by Alice Braga. I think I've seen her in films. I'm not sure off the top of my head what I've seen her in. But from this tease, I don't really have any feelings about this casting announcement. I'm not really getting much personality out of what her character's about. She just kind of looks like a female Rick Flag, which makes sense if they're just going to use her as like the new love interest to replace the old one, the person who played Enchantress. But we'll see. I mean, yeah, she looks fine, but nothing stands out about her. Like, I'm a bit confused how she's going to work into this film. I just presume she's going to be working alongside Rick Flag, and she's not being forced to go on this mission. She is actually someone who was in the military anyway. Yeah, got no real thoughts on her. Just okay. Blackguard, who's being played by Pete Davidson. He seems like a generic bad guy. I don't really have any opinions of him. He's just a guy with guns, and we've got plenty of that. So, yeah. I doubt he'll be in the movie for very long. I got a feeling he's just going to play a douchey guy, and it's going to be funny to see him get killed off. I presume he'll get killed off. There's just nothing unique about his character from what I can tell. It's just a guy with guns, so we'll see what they do with him. But he looks like he's having a good time, and that's all I want to see from these actors. Even if they're not in the film for very long, he just seems like he knows what he's doing with his interpretation of the character, and that's the only thing that kind of excites me, is that he seems to be liking being in this film. The next casting, which is an interesting one, is TDK, who's getting played by Nathan Fillion. I love that Nathan Fillion is in this film, especially because I've seen his performance for the as Nathan Drake in the Uncharted short film, so I know he can bring a lot of that comedic charm, which would make sense because I've been hearing that this character's ability is to rip off his arms and throw them at enemies, which is so bizarre. I love that. I love how ridiculous his power is, and I can't wait to see him use it. I think TDK is supposed to stand for something like I had it in my head. I can't even think. Like throwing desponded kid, throwing in despond. I don't know what his name is, but it's something to do with his power. And I love how ridiculous it sounds, and I'm very excited to see Nathan Fillion because I don't think I've seen him in any films, but I've heard a lot of hype around this actor. And when I saw the Uncharted short film, I was blown away, and I was like, oh my god, he is Nathan Drake. And it's such a shame that we're not going to be able to see him in an Uncharted movie, but oh well, we got that, and I'm excited to see him in this project. Weasel is getting played by Sean Gunn. This was the strangest character announcement in this trailer. He doesn't look like he's meant to be part of this movie. It looks like he crashed into this movie. But I'm up for how strange they're taking these characters in this property, so I'm definitely open-minded to the choice of using such a weird-looking character. I'll be interested to hear how he came to be in this movie, because it looks like he's a mutant weasel, whereas from what I've heard in the comics, I think he's just supposed to be a guy in a weasel costume with these sort of abilities like having claws and stuff. So doing it in this way is just amazingly weird. This will also, in my mind, be James Gunn's DC version of Rocket Raccoon for sure. Like, again, there's another similarity. We're going to have a talking rodent, so this makes sense. And it's very cool to see that Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, is back on another project, and I'm happy to see that he's actually going to be voicing a talking rodent rather than just doing the motion capture for Rocket and getting another actor to do the voice. So yeah, very excited to see what Sean Gunn brings to a CGI character. Captain Boomerang is back. He's being played by Jai Courtney. I'm so happy to see he's back, because I think he was, I mean, this might be controversial, this might not, but I think he was the best performance in Suicide Squad, which is ironic because he really didn't have a lot to do in that film. So I certainly hope that we get to see him throw way more boomerangs in this movie, because he threw like, what, 2 boomerangs in the last one? One to throw at Katana, and I think he threw another one which was the camera flying in the sky. I don't know, like, he really had nothing to do in that movie, and it was such a waste. But I have faith that James Gunn is going to make him throw all these kind of crazy boomerangs, so I can't wait to see that. I'm not 100% sold on the costume yet. I'm going to have to get used to it. I really did like the previous design in the first movie, but it definitely suits the style of the film, so I really can't complain too much. I just really did like his sort of half-assed look in the last film, because it was a bit more realistic, but again, this film isn't going for a realistic tone, it's going for a cheesy, over-the-top tone. So in that sense, this costume works. I'm just going to have to get used to it. Peacemaker, finally. This is the final character announcement. Peacemaker is being played by John Cena. I think that this announcement alone speaks volumes without me really saying anything. I love how serious this character seems to act, but how dumb the costume looks. So it's a nice contrast for the comedy, and I'm sure this character will have some very funny moments, as for what James Gunn has said, he is a character that will do anything to provide peace to the world, even if it means killing people. So I love the irony in his motivation. And that's every character announced in this trailer. So overall, I love that we are keeping things that worked for the first film, such as, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and all that. But we are getting a much larger team, which I think is needed if they're going to go up against these impossible odds. So I'm glad that the team is way larger. And I love the new additions, because I have little to no knowledge of any of them. So on that level, it's exciting to not have an expectation for how these characters are going to be represented, because I have no real attachment to their history and backstories. So they can, in that regard, much like Guardians of the Galaxy, just do whatever they want with these characters that works for the film. So I'm very excited. It's rare that I'm excited for a film that I already have an idea what it's about from the previous movie, and yet I have no idea what to expect in this movie, because 80% of it is such unknown territory for me. So yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to be a nice treat to just see a comic book movie and not really have any idea of what to expect. Much like Guardians of the Galaxy, that was a movie that sold me from the trailer. I had no real knowledge of what to expect in that film, and yet that movie blew me away. So this feels like that excitement I haven't felt since Guardians. So yes, just excited. And I think James Gunn is making the right decision to go as insane and weird with this movie as possible, because it'll stand out in the line of DC movies that we've already gotten. And this might be, I thought Shazam was going to be their comedy of all time for this DC universe, but no, the Suicide Squad is definitely going to be the weirder, funnier movie. So yeah, I'm glad we're getting another comedy film from James Gunn. It's gonna be great. I also think that James Gunn has purposely chosen to use this bizarre bunch of characters because, most people will have that already established attachment. Oh no, sorry, most people won't have the attachment to these characters because no one knows who these new bizarre characters are. So in that regard, he has the freedom to kill any one of them at any point of the film and just create complete chaos. And because we don't have a history with these characters and our love for them, we'll just accept that, okay, I guess he killed that one off. I mean, yeah, he was kind of cool, but I didn't really know that much about him, so they killed him off. And the ones that survive will be the ones that we get the most attachment to, hopefully, because we will have got to know them the more they survive throughout the film. So that's exciting. We've got like a team of 20 characters, I think, and he's going to be able to kill as many of them as he really wants. So that's really exciting. And also I'm glad that we're getting a team of people who actually have superhuman abilities, because my problem with the first Suicide Squad movie was, the whole logic was, what would happen if Superman came down and kidnapped the president? Who would stop him? And I'm like, well, not this team, because you've got a girl with a bat, a guy who's good with guns, a guy who barely throws boomerangs, and the closest you've got to someone with an ability is probably Killer Croc, and even he doesn't do anything. The only thing he really does is swim into the sewers to activate a bomb. So, the concept makes no sense. I mean, not with the threat that they're going up against if you're doing like a Superman type of villain. And yeah, I mean, Enchantress would have been a great addition to the team, but obviously in the movie, she became evil. She was always evil, but she became the villain of the film, which made sense in that regard, but clearly proved to Amanda Waller that her idea doesn't work that well. So, yeah, I don't know. There was storyline issues with the first one. I still did enjoy the first one. It's just it wasn't as good as it was getting sold to me in the trailers. So yeah, I think James Gunn knows exactly what he's doing with this film, knows what didn't work and what did work from the first film, and he's just going to embrace the insanity of it all. So with all these characters announced, I'm actually going to take a moment to guess who will live and who won't, who's going to survive by the end of the film. And I'll be interested to see how many people actually agree or disagree with me. And I'm going to try my best to kind of explain why I think these characters are likely to die and not die. Amanda Waller will obviously live because she's not on the team and she actually has control of who gets their heads blown up. So if anything, Amanda Waller is essentially God to these team members. So she's going to be fine, obviously. Rick Flag is going to be fine. I mean, he's the leader of the team. He's the guy who's got to put the villains in check and say, hey, stop fucking about and come, sort this out with me. So he's going to be safe. Savant will probably die, I reckon, because even though Michael Rooker has played characters in James Gunn's previous films, they have all eventually died. So, when James Gunn makes Guardians of the Galaxy 3, this will be the first film. I mean, presumably that doesn't have Yondu in it. I mean, unless, they do a flashback. But still, he dies in the film. So I reckon James Gunn and Michael Rooker would have, find it really humorous to kill his character in the movie and do it in a funny way. But yeah, I know what you're thinking. But just because he might not necessarily die in this film, they might make a Suicide Squad 3 and he might die in that film. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, when you've got a movie, the difference is with Yondu, there was no intention to kill off Yondu. It was just kind of a way to give this story more heart and more weight to these characters in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. But with Suicide Squad, the whole premise is that you're sending villains on a mission basically just to see them all get killed off across the movie. So, it's kind of hard to think that they won't kill Michael Rooker just because he would find it hilarious. James Gunn would find it hilarious. They have a great relationship, so we know that we're going to see him in more James Gunn films, even if it's not another Suicide Squad movie. We know he's not going to be in a Guardians Volume 3 movie, at least not unless it's flashback, so for that reason alone, I think they would take the opportunity to kill him in the most ridiculous way. So yeah, I think Savant will die. Javelin is definitely going to die. I mean, he seems like the Slipknot equivalent of this team. I mean, how useful can you really be with a Javelin? How far is that really going to take you in a mission? So I reckon Javelin's going to die. Harley Quinn, of course, is going to survive. She's such a popular character that Warner Brothers is not ready to stop making movies with her. She just generates attention for their movies. So yeah, I think we still got a number of movies with Harley Quinn, so there's no way they're going to kill her off. Polka Dot Man. I'm actually optimistic that he's going to survive because I think James Gunn knows that this actor can make Polka Dot Man very lovable. So I can see him surviving, especially with the success his character has in the Ant-Man movies. So I reckon that James Gunn knows that this character is going to be quite liked in the film. So I don't think they're going to kill him off. Worst case scenario, I mean, not worst, because I don't care if they live or die, because the whole point is I kind of want to see a lot of them die, but I reckon Polka Dot Man's going to be fine. Ratcatcher. I think she will die just because I can't see how far her abilities, much like Javelin, can really take her on a mission. I mean, I don't know a lot about her, but obviously she has a thing about rats. I don't know what she'd do, like tie a bomb to a rat and have it scuttle over to the target, much like in Wanted. I'm not really sure what her potential is for helping, so I'm going to say she's probably going to die. Yeah, I could see that happening. Bloodsport. I can definitely see Idris Elba surviving this film, as he's like the new Deadshot type of character, so I don't think they're ready to get rid of that type of character yet. And also, Idris Elba is an amazing actor, and I think they're going to want to keep him. He's a big name in Hollywood for this film, so I think they're going to keep him on. I don't think they're going to kill him by the end of the movie, so he's going to be fine. King Shark easily is going to survive, because he's going to be the most lovable character, unless they can kill him in a really comedic way, but I doubt they will, because he's so popular in the Harley Quinn series, and he's in The Flash, and people loved him in the Flash TV show, so I can't see them killing him. Like, he's going to be the new Korg, the new Groot. Can you imagine sending Groot out on a mission and just blowing him up, like, in the most horrific way possible? I mean, at least when he kind of died in the first Guardians movie, he was, like, self-sacrificing himself, but this character was a villain, King Shark, so... And he's going to be so sweet and innocent and yet terrifying at the same time. And I think the audiences are just going to really respond to that. So I think they know that they've got a good character with him. So I don't think he's going to die. He'll be fine. Mongol will die. I mean, she looks boring and uninterested in everything that's going on, as far as I can tell. So I don't think she'll be liked much in this film whatsoever. I was hoping she'd be like the James Gunn's kind of Gamora character. And... at first I thought she did look like that type, but then just the way this actor presents herself from the little we've seen, and admittedly it is very little, so for all I know she could be amazing in this film, but she just looks terrible, so I think she will die. Maybe the joke will be she takes herself too seriously, and so as a result she gets killed off. The Thinker by Peter Capaldi. I don't want him to die, but I think he will, just because I can see them making his character such a dick and an arsehole to the other characters that they just won't be able to stand him. He'll be so obnoxious and think, well, I know everything, so, you know, I'm a essential part of this team. I'm like the smartest one here. You guys are all idiots. And I reckon they'll just kill him based on how obnoxious and annoying he is. So I'll be sad to see that, but also satisfied because it will fit with the humorous tone of the film. But I'm so happy that Peter Capaldi is getting to be in a comic book movie. This is really exciting for me. I'm a big fan of his in Doctor Who. Sol Soria. She's like 50-50. She's not going to be the most entertaining to see die, because I feel like I could see her being a character that sacrifices herself for the mission. You know, especially, I mean, she's got less chances of dying because I think she's part of Rick Flag's team. I don't think she's part of the villain. I don't think she's got a bomb in her head, so I don't think she'll die from that. I reckon she'll sacrifice herself. But on the other hand, I mean, they must have brought her in for a reason, so I'm going to say she will... Yeah, I'll say she'll die. I reckon she'll sacrifice herself. And it'll be an emotional part of the movie. And I don't know if that's going to sell me on that because we've only just met her, so I don't know. I'm just confused why she's in this movie, her character. Oh well, but yeah, I reckon she might die. Blackguard is definitely going to die. His thing is just guns, and we've already got characters that are good with guns, like Idris Elba, so for that reason, he's definitely out. Or just, why'd you need him? He's just going to be a reason to be killed. There's no doubt in my mind. TDK is probably going to die for comedy's sake. I mean, he's a guy who rips his arms off and throws them at people, and as cool as that is, and as funny as and bizarre as that is, and as cool of an actor as Nathan Fillion is, I reckon he's going to be a good sport and let his character die for the sake of the movie. So I don't think TDK will make it till the end of the movie. It's such a weird power. So yeah, I think he's going to die. Weasel. He's probably going to die just because he's the least human of all of them, as far as I can tell. He's so disgusting looking and weird. And there was like a tease in the behind-the-scenes featurette trailer that James Gunn says, some of these guys have a lot of character and a lot of, there's a lot of relatability to some of them, or something along those lines. But then he said, but some of them are crappy through and through. And that seems to be a dig at Weasel, just because he's such a weird-looking character. So I think Weasel will die. I hope he makes it for a decent amount of time in the movie. But yeah, he's probably going to die. Captain Boomerang is going to be safe because this is probably Jai Courtney's biggest franchise that he's attached to, and he really needs these movies to shine more in Hollywood, because before Captain Boomerang, I had no interest in this actor. I thought he was boring, generic, and annoying, when really it was probably just the scripts and the direction that his projects were going in. So, I think he can act well. It's just, unfortunately, the films he attaches himself to aren't the films for him. So, yeah, he needs to stay onto this franchise for his own sake. And also, he was popular for the first film as well, so I don't think they're ready to kill him off. I think they'll give him at least one more movie, so yeah, he'll be fine. And also, if they make a Flash movie, like Captain Boomerang, as far as I'm aware, is a Flash villain. So, yeah, maybe we'd want to see that fight at some point, so who knows. But I think Captain Boomerang will be safe. Peacemaker is dying just from the concept of his character alone being ridiculous. Like, he'll kill as many people as it takes to have peace in the world. Yeah, he'll die. Yeah, he'll definitely die. That's my predictions for who will live and who will die. So overall, the safe characters that I've mentioned, I think the people who will survive will be Amanda Waller, Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, Polka Dot Man, Bloodsport, King Shark, and Captain Boomerang. Which means that we're going to see around 9 characters die, which is really cool, because in the first film, I think only Slipknot died, which is annoying because he only died to establish to the audience that, yes, these characters can die if they really want them to, but because they chose such iconic characters for that first team, it just seemed unrealistic they were actually going to kill anyone. Like, when I was sitting there in the cinema, I wasn't thinking, oh god, I hope Captain Boomerang survives, I hope Harley Quinn survives, or Killer Croc. Like, they're such iconic characters in the DC world that was just a bad move. Like, the only character we had no real knowledge of was Slipknot, Diablo, and Katana. And Diablo and Katana are so unique, and Slipknot is so boring that of course they're going to kill Slipknot. So yeah, whereas in this film, I'm just excited that I have no idea who's going to live and die, because these aren't popular characters. These aren't characters that people know really well. So this is going to be a fun time in the cinema for sure. Joel Kinnaman in the behind-the-scenes featurette even said, don't get attached to these characters. So actually, in that sense, I could be completely wrong with my predictions, and the film just does a 180 and kills the returning characters from the first film, but I highly doubt it, especially with Harley Quinn, just because, I think there's still money that can be made as far as a business sense. I think the studio knows that they need some of these characters to stay alive. But yeah, just with the fact that we don't know these characters, he probably just said don't get attached because You're going to find them funny, you're going to find them ridiculous, and you're going to find them very entertaining, but they will die. So, yeah, that is my predictions. Overall, looks like it'll be an amazing time in the cinema. I'm very happy with what we were shown at DC Fandome. I can't wait for a full-length trailer, but that probably isn't going to be for a while because it's not coming out till... The film's not out till, I think, August in 2021, so... You know, a trailer probably won't be revealed till maybe... I'm thinking... May, June time, we'll get a first trailer. So it's going to be quite a while away. But just glad we get to see something and that I can have my excitement be even larger. So yeah, that's my thoughts today. I did go on quite a rant specifically about the characters. But, you know, I'd be very interested to hear what your thoughts are on all this. So, you know, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please like, share to support the channel, subscribe to keep up to date with all my movie, TV and video game talk, and if you'd like to support the channel even more, which is always appreciated, then check out the link in the description to listen to a new single by The Undeciders called Take It Off, which is now available on iTunes as well as many other digital platforms. Your support is always hugely appreciated, as always, and I hope you have an amazing day. So for now, stay safe and take care.